So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview, broadcast and recorded live on blogtalkradio.com from the new media and baseball capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. I know a lot of people who are intrigued by the idea of producing their own website or blog, but scared to death that doing so would be technically over their heads. To which I always reply, if I can do it, you can do it. If you're one of those people, maybe my guest for today's show will have better luck convincing you to give website construction a go. It's not as difficult as you think. His name is Haroon Mokhtarzada, and he is CEO of Webs.com, also known as FreeWebs. The company is big in the build your own website space and was recently named number 5 on the Technology Fast 50. They've made website building about as easy as anyone could. Haroon, welcome to Mr. Media.
Well, thank you for having me on. And by the way, you did a brilliant job of pronouncing my name. Normally people have a much more difficult time doing so.
Well, you know, I cheated. But thank you. I appreciate that. I think I had more fear of pronouncing your name than anyone I've encountered so far. So thank you very much. And you're off to a flying start here. Don't ask me to spell it, though. I will not pass that test.
All right.
So if there really is someone out there who has not yet created their own website, what can you say to encourage them?
Well, the first thing is that I would say what you said, which is it's a lot easier than you think. Technology's come a long way. We've been working on making it easier for years now. And our thought is when we created the service, we wanted to create something easy enough for our mother to use who really had no technological skills, so to say. And it's pretty much if you can do email, if you can use any sort of normal web application, like something like Facebook that a lot of people use, or LinkedIn, or sort of any kind of general web application, you should be able to make a website. And FreeWebs and Webs.com enable that, and 20 million people have done it on our site, ranging from 6-year-olds to 80-year-olds.
It seems like the younger you are, the quicker you pick up on this, and the older you are, the more afraid you are because it's so different from what you expect.
Well, I'm not sure if it's the quicker one picks up on it as much as how much one is willing to kind of risk trying out something new. So young people are constantly trying out new web services, and they just don't fear kind of learning something new or trying to figure something out as much as the older generation. But people have been successful across all ages on Webs.com.
I think the thing I try to tell people is, if you haven't done it before, you do it at home. It sounds like sex in some ways, but you do it at home. You do it in the privacy of your own home, or in the privacy of your cubicle at work, and just play around with it. You're not going to break anything, right?
Well, yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we made our service a free service, so that there's really no harm in trying to create your website or creating it. You don't have to put any money up front. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is sign up. It takes about 1 minute to sign up, and you're off building your website. So there's really no harm, no foul if anything goes wrong.
You say that now. So what you're saying is no one has ever brought down your servers, or no one working from their bedroom has managed to destroy your system.
Yeah, and I don't think that's really the worry. I think there is, some people have a fear of, well, what if my site's not good enough, or what if I can't do it? And what we try to do is make the initial investment just as small and as simple as possible. Spend 5 or 10 minutes, and you'll know whether you like it or not, whether it's something you're going to continue with, or it was a good learning experience. But, really people have to think about, they know how to use Microsoft Word. They know how to type. They know how to add pictures to stuff. And it's really just like that. It's that simple. You have a page in front of you. You pick a template in terms of what design you like, which you can always change later. And then you just kind of add the pages you want and drop in the content.
Well, let me, excuse me, let me give out our phone number because this might be a subject we get some questions for. If you've got a question for Haroon Mokhtarzada, CEO of Webs.com, give us a call, 646-595-3135. And I encourage you to play the home game while we're doing this. There's a tour you can take on the home site. Go to Webs.com. You can follow the prompts for a free tour of the site. You don't have to commit to anything. Why is it free, and how does anybody make money giving away the product for free?
Well, yeah, it's free, like I said, because we wanted as many people to be able to use it as possible. And it is something that distinguishes us from a lot of other services that make you pay up front or promise to shut down your site 1 week after if you don't pay or things like that. And how we make money, it's actually quite simple. A select percentage of our users decide to actually pay us for additional services. For example, if you want your own domain name like www.ilovepets.com, for example, you would pay and then you could get your own custom address for your site, which is more professional, more memorable, things like that. Or if you want to do e-commerce and you want to sell items on your store, and you want some extra store features, you want to add more products, you want to track your inventory, those are kind of extended additional services that we offer. So you have some people paying, and there's plenty of people who do that. And then for the free people, we sponsor their websites with advertising, which pays for kind of the cost of hosting it and doing all of the product development and everything else. So that's kind of our model, is split between advertising and the premium subscriptions.
Okay. So the free subscriptions, the free use is kind of the loss leader, kind of, hey, come look at us, and hopefully people will use the site, like it, and upgrade?
I mean, we're fine if people don't upgrade. Of course, we always love premium members, but the advertising does fairly well, and fundamentally we're about generating a really large media property. And so, our free business is really strong, and that's what's reaching, tens of millions of unique viewers every month.
Yeah, I saw, is this right? That now this is all of the sites developed on Webs.com, and which some people may also know, I guess, is free Webs. 30 million unique visitors a month, 20,000 signups per day. Are those real numbers?
Yeah, that's correct. 30 million across all the sites. It's 30 million visitors a month. Which is a tremendous amount. That number is kind of unimaginable to us. And every day, 20,000 new people come and create a website. And again, it goes to kind of the ease of use and people starting to kind of get over their fears and really jump in and do it.
Now, did you say when we started talking that you and your brothers wanted to create a program or site that would be easy enough that your mother could build a website?
That's correct. And she was kind of our first test subject.
Has she done that then?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is her website?
I'm not sure. It's kind of a more private site, so I'm not sure I would give it out to everyone on the audience. But she did build a site, and she's built a couple now, actually. She was a linguistics professor, and so she built a site for that class while she was teaching at the University of Maryland, and then she's put up some family sites as well.
Oh, so she's a college professor, so she's not a. Well, I was going to say something disparaging about my mother. That wouldn't be nice. She's not a technological she's not illiterate, I guess is what I'm getting at.
No, she's certainly not illiterate, although one could call her illiterate when it comes to technology.
And why was it important to you and your brothers to build that your mother be able to build websites? Why couldn't she just go out and hire somebody?
Yeah, well, that's exactly the point. At the time, we actually had a lot of people coming to us, our parents' friends and things like that, saying, hey, can you build a website for us? You guys know something about the Internet. Can you please build a website for us? And we wrestled with the idea of should we start, kind of a website building business where we build websites for people. And then we said, well, that doesn't, how many people are we really going to help in that scenario? If me and my brother and a couple other people start building websites for people, one-offs, each one at a time. And so we said, well, why don't we build something that will build websites for people or let people kind of empower people to build their own sites? And that's where the idea came from.
And how long have you been at this now?
Well, technically we started in 2001, and we sort of bootstrapped the operation. Now that was at a time that actually is starting to feel like we're back at that time when the dot-coms were crashing, the market was going down. And so rather than doing the model of, let's raise a bunch of money and create this massive company, we said, let's just start something up. And we put in $1,000 each, me and my brother, so it's $2,000, and we just started it. And it was kind of a pay-as-you-go model where as we started making money, we invested it back in the business. And it sort of grew organically and virally over the next several years until 2006 when we raised $12 million from venture funds.
And the people who loan you that money are probably coming around now saying, hey, could you guys help us with a little cash?
Well, I mean, the venture funds are doing fine still.
No, I don't think anybody's particularly happy this week. But
right.
Let's stick to the website building for a moment, because I do want to talk to you about raising money and ventures and stuff. But what's the most common mistake that people make, when they're trying to build a site? Where do they go wrong?
I think one of the areas that a lot of people go wrong is to think that if they put a couple pages up on the web, there's going to be a ton of people who want to go and see that content. And this is the biggest difficulty, is not creating the site, but it's getting kind of an audience, an ongoing audience to engage with that. And so what distinguishes webs.com from a bunch of other sort of website creation tools out there is that we actually give, as part of our site creation tool set, the real ability to generate sort of a membership and a community around your site, so that your visitors aren't passive people who come and have to read your content, but they're actually participants in the site. They can join the site. They can interact. They can comment on your pictures or your videos. They can discuss things in the discussion forum. And so they have a feeling of ownership in the site, and it's not just you and your little site and you're hoping that someone's going to read the 3 or 4 pages of text that you happen to have put up. It's really you're creating a story that other people want to engage in and contribute to. And I think that's really important for a long-term, sustainable, successful website, regardless of the topic, whether it's your family site or it's a group or organization, like a sports team, or even a business. Business sites often, they think they should create a site that puts a couple pictures of what they do and then their address and phone number. So that they can get business from that site. But fundamentally, who really wants to come to that site? Maybe I need to go there to find the address or phone number, but why would I ever come back to that site? But when you layer in these other more community, more social features on the site so that people can engage with the topic, engage with the content, that makes for a much more successful and interesting website.
I know I find in general that people just think that if they it's kind of like if you build it, they will come. It's not really quite that simple. I mean, and I guess what you're saying is content over function is the issue.
Well, I think content and engagement, right? And you have to think about what are you offering to the people who are coming to your site. And if you're just offering them your single message and you just want to impose your message on them and that's pretty much it, you're not really offering a lot. And even if they come and read it once, then it's not updated and so it is what it is. But if you have a living, breathing website where you're updating it frequently, you're getting feedback from your members of the site, the members are interacting with each other, they therefore have, they create an affinity with the site. They actually go and tell other people, hey, come to this site because I'm doing stuff on it and you should come here too if you're interested in this topic. That's the way you can actually get a growing, not just a website, almost a web property at that point.
What you're talking about is more of a social network as opposed to just a traditional throw up a website and you're in business. Is that something that's kind of new with webs.com of late, or have you been doing it that way all along?
Well, we've been innovating for 6-7 years and always looking for the next wave of, what's going to help our members engage their members. And, Social network has a specific, when people think of the word, they're thinking of MySpace and Facebook, which are social networks and which are fundamentally about me and myself and my relationships, my personal relationships. And that's why social network, that's what they're great for. And so, I can put in what I ate for lunch today and things like that. And a website.
Please don't.
And website, Twitter, all of these things. But websites are really when it's about something else other than just yourself or what you did yesterday. So I have a passion, I have a topic, I have a group, I have a business. It's something else other than me. And that's what you need a website for. And what we're saying is to create engagement on those websites, you've got to get the people who are just typically these invisible visitors who are coming and going on the site to actually create a relationship with that site. So the site needs to have a relationship with those visitors. And that's what adding in, these what we're calling social publishing tools enables, is that the visitors can actually become members of the site, become a part of that site, and contribute to the growth of that site.
And do the tools that are available for this on the webs.com site, do you include things like Twitter and Facebook, or are people using web's exclusive tools and widgets and such?
Well, I mean, we don't, we're not really the place to manage your personal relationships, right? And so that's why,
okay.
A lot of our users still have Facebook account. We're not like another Facebook or something like that. A lot of our users still have their Facebook account, and they'll still use Twitter and things like that. We do have a lot of widgets that you can add to your site that, that integrate with other services, and Facebook is coming out with things like Facebook Connect, where you can use your Facebook ID across services, and we'll be integrating that as well. But we don't like to think of ourselves as, something that you would do instead of Facebook. It's something you do in addition to Facebook, and it's for the conversations and the purposes that Facebook isn't really a good fit for.
I'm thinking that I did an interview on Mr. Media. This has been about a year now with an executive at Neighborhood America, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. They do enterprise networks for like CBS television. I think they've done them for them, where people they create a network around a company, kind of like and they're all within that network, and it's all because they're drawn by a common interest in CBS or TV shows or CBS News or something. Right. Is that closer to what we're talking about than?
And you are starting to see it. Yeah. Well, you are starting to see that trend of adding these kind of community, social, and networking components to all kinds of large sites, from CBS, like you mentioned, to things like CNN, where you have citizen journalists now who can post content and things like that on CNN.com itself. MTV is doing a lot of this stuff. So a lot of the big players are starting to understand that just like everyone else, they need to engage their audience, and the way to do it is to capture them through social tools where the visitors are no longer transparent visitors, but they can actually be a part of the website. And what we're saying is that's great, and the Fortune 500 companies can pay millions of dollars to get those types of tools. We want to give those same tools and that same ability down to the people we serve, which is people like the listeners of your radio show who would want a website for, something that's very important in their lives but may not be at the level of something like a CBS.
So if I've got a small business, for example, I might be able to afford to have Neighborhood America help me build a community infrastructure around my website, but that might be the kind of thing I could do at webs.com on a smaller basis.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You could do exactly that on webs.com, and in fact, you can have a lot of the same functionality literally for free. It's a really powerful thing that we're giving out this functionality to millions of people, and things that would have only been possible through a lot of investment and time and effort. Are now all of these tools are seamlessly integrated with your personal, website that you've created.
Let me. I know we've got a number of people in the live web chat that accompanies Mr. Media. If you've got a question for Haroon Mokhtarzada, CEO of Webs.com, give us a call, 646-595-3135. Of course, if you're listening to the archive play of the show. Don't call in. We're not here. How has the company changed since 2001? What's been the biggest change? Is it on the business plan side, the business model? Is it the product? Have you gone bald? What are we talking about?
I still have a good head of hair, thankfully. But I would say, first of all, I'm proud that since 2001 till now, we've been consistent in sort of saying we're the leader in website creation for the masses. And that's something that's never changed and that never will change, and that we'll continue to give out our services for free. The two big changes, I would say, is one, we started bootstrapped. We were running the company part-time for several years. I was at Harvard Law School, going to law school, trying to run the company on my spare time, and my brother was working full-time at NIH. So going from that, where it was us two and a couple remote part-time people for several years, to now, a company of 35 people, is a tremendous amount of change. And there's all kinds of interesting things that happen as you add more and more people to a company. So that's obviously one change. And the second change is, not only we're a lot bigger, but the product set that we're able to offer as a result of having, more engineering staff and more innovation and everything else is, becoming really, really interesting at this point. And we started with very simple website creation where we continue to focus, but continuing to move down this path so that it's not just about having a website, but you can add on photo galleries and blogs and a store if you want to sell stuff, and a discussion forum and a members area where your members can communicate with each other. All of those things all packaged in as easy a package as it was to create the original website, and all integrated together in one complete web presence. It's just a tremendous tool and product, and it's just really rewarding to me to be able to offer that to so many people.
Where is it all going for you guys? Just increasing numbers? Will the product continue to evolve?
The product will always continue to evolve as we kind of stay on the cutting edge of what's available and where where the internet is headed and what the needs of people are. And our numbers have grown tremendously over the years, and I hope to continue that growth. And I hope that we can increase the engagement and everything else that's happening on these sites so that it becomes more rewarding for the people who have sites on webs.com.
Company private or public?
It's a private company. Like I said, we have some institutional investors, but and so it's a private company.
Now, a few years ago, it seemed like everyone's goal was to build the company, take it public, sell out, grab a bunch of money, and move on to the next company or buy an island somewhere. The situation's changed a bit. How long will you stick with it? What's your strategy going forward? Is it you and multiple brothers? One brother?
Yeah, two brothers and myself, actually. Yep.
Okay.
How long will I stick with it? If you'd asked me that in 2001, I probably would have said I don't know, and I'll probably say the same thing now. I mean, I'll stick with it as long as it's successful and rewarding and continues to create value in people's lives. It's not just about whether you go public or not. And by the way, the public markets don't look so great right now.
Right.
So it's not really just about that. It's also about building a great company, learning about management and organization and all of that stuff, and then touching people. I mean, we've touched millions of people's lives, and we have all kinds of stories of ways we've changed people's lives as they've used our platform and our services to do something for them and make it work for them. And so, I just want to continue doing that. I want to continue offering the best tools possible, and we'll see where that takes us.
All right. Haroon, I think we've got a question here for you. Hi, do you have a question or comment for Haroon? Hello? Hi, you called in. Did you have a question? Comment? Something nice you'd like to say about Wall Street? No. All right. Well, if you change your mind, you have a question, call us back. Thanks. All right. That happens occasionally. Sometimes people put the phone down, too.
Right.
Is there any advice that you would want to offer someone else who was going to start up a company, certainly not a competing company, but kind of in the internet space these days? Is it a bad time, do you think, to be starting?
Yeah, I do talk on this subject often, and I have some pretty strong feelings about it. I really feel like, entrepreneurs are a certain type of person, and they like to be creative and start things up. And I think just like people fear kind of creating a website for several reasons, people also fear starting something up because they think of it, they're thinking a lot larger than they need to originally. And I'm really a big fan of people who just have an idea, starting something, especially on the internet. The barrier to entry is so small now. The investment required to get a service up and running is so small now that, I encourage people to just jump in and do it. And they don't have to quit their job. They don't have to go and try to raise millions of dollars to do it. They can do it and prove their model early enough. And then if you do that, if you build something, you launch it, you show that people like it, and you prove your model, it becomes infinitely easier to then grow that business. Whether you need to take investment or you can use some revenue that you're generating to fund the rest of your growth, it's just a lot easier. And in this kind of economy, for people who are now more risk averse, I think it's a lot better way. But we need to kind of lower the understanding of the barrier to entry and what it really takes to run a business. I really knew nothing about anything. I didn't know how you raise money or how I knew nothing. We didn't even incorporate originally. We just started something and launched it. And then once it started making money, then we said, okay, well, we need to incorporate. And then from there, we needed to do something else. So we'd call up a lawyer every once in a while and get some advice. And you just kind of grow it as it goes. You don't need to know everything up front.
I'm always amazed. You guys put in, I think you said $1,000 each to start the company.
Yep.
That seems to me to be the way to go. I don't know. I talked to someone earlier this year, I think on the show, about a site they had started, and they had gotten like $5 to $10 million in startup money for it, and I thought, okay, but why? I just didn't really get that. Now, the caller who called in before has called back, so let's see if they have a question, if this will work this time. Hi, do you have a question or comment for Haroon?
No, I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. I'll put you back on hold then. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting way to listen. I'm glad to have the listeners. Don't get me wrong. What was I going to ask you about?
So you're talking about someone raised $5 million, $10 million, and you wondered why. And I actually think that's a really good point. And I've actually been critical of some venture capital firms and things like that, and have talked to entrepreneurs about the pros and cons of it. If you think about it, I would say the only reason to raise something like $5 or $10 million is, A, you can't build a business without a significant amount of money. And you have an idea that you think could be worth something in excess of $100 million. But if you are, you want to build a business and you would be happy with it growing to $5 million or $10 million, you got to kind of understand that that's not the venture model. They're not interested in a company that's going to grow to $5 or $10 million. They want something. Their model is make a bunch of bets, and 10% of them will be worth hundreds of millions or $1 billion. That's how they make their money. So if you're going to be satisfied with something much smaller, you actually end up shooting yourself in the foot if you take a large investment, because they're not going to want to let you grow slowly or conservatively or try to sell at a lower price or something like that. They're really after something much larger. And so the only reason to take that kind of money is if, A, you're going to go for something larger, and B, you know why you need the money and how it's going to fuel your growth.
Right. That's really it. You shouldn't just be out there trying to. I understand everybody sees a pot of money and they want a big piece of it, but in the internet space, especially, it seems like you really have to have a sense of how you're going to use that money and where it's going to be applied, as opposed to. You still hear these stories about these companies that grab all this money, and then you go to the site or you look at the company and there's just no sign of the money there. So.
Yeah, I agree. And so, if you're doing some kind of, if your business is a manufacturing business or restaurant business, sure, you need money up front. But when you're putting up a virtual thing, which is a website, and you just need some programmers and some designers and things like that, it's hard to justify needing that much money so early on.
Mm-hmm. For folks who may be just joining us, I'm talking to Haroon Mokhtarzada. Am I still doing okay with the pronunciation?
Yeah, not bad.
Okay. He's the CEO of Webs.com, also known as FreeWebs, and we're kind of at this point, we're talking a little bit about the money behind a site like this. Now, you guys didn't bring in the VC dollars until you were about 4 or 5 years into the business. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, that made it incredibly easy for us to do because we presented, while other people were presenting their slideware ideas of what they were going to do and how they're going to take over the world, we presented a business that had millions of users already, that was profitable at the time, and that had quarter-over-quarter growth since its inception, and that we had done on bootstrapped shoestring budget while we were working part-time. And you bet that when we told that story to VCs, their ears perked up and they became interested. And so we had multiple term sheets. We had VCs competing with each other, and so you end up getting a much better deal that way.
It's interesting. I had never really, I think once, maybe 20-some years ago, tried to start a magazine and didn't have the dollars to stick with it longer than 6 months, and and I've written about business models and such over the years, and until you actually put yourself in that position, you don't really understand. When people tell you that, it's not going to happen overnight, you're not going to do it in 3 or 6 months, it might take a year, it might take 2 years, and you have to be prepared to be patient and have cash to fall back on. And the reason I'm saying this is I just had this experience with Mr. Media, which something, it just kind of happened. It feels like it happened overnight. The site is in its second year, and it took, like this year, we've been using blogtalkradio.com as a platform for these live podcasts, and this is me trying to relate to what you're talking about. And so from January 1 to September 10th, we pulled 50,000 downloads of people listening to interviews, which I was very proud of. I was really impressed myself by that number. But the funny thing is, once the word got out about that 50,000 number, it seems like we hit a threshold that impressed people, because in the last 30 days, since we hit 50,000, there have been 25,000 more downloads. So what took 9 months to do originally, we've gone another, we've gone half of that again in 30 days. Right. And suddenly, there's a lot of people where a year ago we had to beg to get interviews, people kind of coming out of the woodwork. And, we're talking about sponsorships and advertising now. It is interesting what having a little time and a little patience under your belt can really do for a model and the way you're perceived.
And this is exactly the point, is that when you're growing a company, initially, probably when you hit 1,000 downloads, that was a milestone for you. And then you hit 10,000 downloads, and so now 1,000 looks small to you. And now if someone would call you and say, well, wow, you've got such a successful talk show, you'd say, yeah, it is successful, but we're now looking at the bigger guys, and we want to be that big now. And when you get there, there's always someone bigger. So, people, younger entrepreneurs or newer entrepreneurs come to me and say, Haroon, look, you've been so successful. And I say, I don't feel any more successful now than I did 3-4 years ago, because at that time I felt successful in my certain way, but I wanted to get to another point. And now I look at other companies and I say, I want to get even larger. I want to serve even more people. So it's really all about just going step by step, and each step is a really exciting phase, when you have a growing company.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Oh my God, you're a kid. Do you? Have you ventured beyond this now over this last 7 years? Have you started any other businesses? Are you as involved day to day with this as you were, or have your daily responsibilities changed?
Well, the other business I have is a 2-year-old daughter, which is I think an entrepreneurial endeavor in and of itself. And I give my hats off to any mothers who are listening for kind of the amount of things that they have to do to raise a child, especially. And if anyone can raise a child, they can certainly run a business. That's definitely my thought there. But in terms of my time and things, I'm still the CEO of this company, and it's a venture-backed company, and so the expectation obviously is this is center of my mind. But we have done some interesting things. Last year, for example, within the company, we started building applications for Facebook as kind of a skunkworks project, and that took off, and it was really successful in the social gaming arena. And so what ended up happening is we spun that company off, raised $15 million for it, moved it out to the Valley, and that's now a separate functioning company. And one of the senior staff here went and became the CEO of that company. So I've gotten a chance to kind of start new things, but the majority of my time is spent on free webs.
So, do you have other ideas that you want to? I don't expect you to tell us what they are, but.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs are creative types, and you kind of see different opportunities out in the landscape. Certain things interest me a lot, like iPhone and iPhone applications. It's a really interesting paradigm to me, and something that I think is new and a really interesting trend. There's all kinds of services that I think could be added to the internet that don't exist yet, that I think provide a lot of value to people. And sort of, you just look at, I think one of the best ways to look at it is look at a problem that you notice, something that's inefficient, something that people are unable to do, or some problem, and then think of a solution for that problem. And if you do that, there will be people who, want that solution.
Well, folks, if you're at all interested in building your own free website or spending money on a premium website, you check out www.webs.com. You may also know the company as FreeWebs. Haroon, thank you so much for joining us today. It was very interesting. It was a lot more interesting than one might think a discussion of a free website would be. I think there was a lot of interesting information for entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs, and hopefully we get a few more people who have a little web creation fear. Maybe we got them over the hump today.
Well, thank you, and it's been an honor chatting with you, and I appreciate you having me on the show. And to your listeners and everybody else, I really would say, look, you have nothing to sort of fear, and I would highly recommend just trying it. It literally takes 5 or 10 minutes, and it can be something that's really rewarding or transforming in your life.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was very interesting to have you, and continued good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, folks, for dozens more celebrity and media newsmaker interviews, surf over to our main website, www.mrmedia.com. You can there listen to my earlier conversations with Billy Bob Thornton, Cheryl Hines, Jeff Garland, Robert Schimmel, Kirk Douglas, and many, many other entrepreneurs. A lot of website people, a lot of bloggers. And please think about writing an online review of Mr. Media, casting a vote for Mr. Media, or marking Mr. Media as one of your favorites, whether you listen on Blog Talk Radio, digitaljournal.com, Podcast Pickle, Vox, Folio, Mediafly, Podfeed.net, Blueberry, Zencast, Odeo, the Kindle Reader, or iTunes. And if you've got an idea for a guest, email me directly at bob@andelman. It's ANDELMAN, bob@andelman.com. Thanks so much for joining us today. As always, I appreciate when you take a little piece of your day and share it with us.